Oh, you know who we haven't heard from yet? Hillary! Hello? She's still out there, still lurking, still waiting for that opportunity. I'm back! I know, I'm going to blast out your ears. I don't want you falling asleep while you listen to the Buck Sexton Show. She's back. Okay, so what's the latest from her? Oh, well, she's trying to tell everybody, yeah, go for it. Be vicious to the other side. Act like lunatics. Forget about any deference or respect or decency toward cops. Just go be the most outrageous left-wing agitators you can right now because Republicans are such a threat. Play clip 5.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and or the Senate, that's when civility can start again. But until then, the only thing that the Republicans seem to recognize and respect is strength.
So she's saying basically all out political war. That's what she is calling for. And I think it's important to understand that's what we're in. That's the reality of the situation, the circumstances of this country right now. This is Hillary. She's going to be president last time around. It's not like there are some Democrats who are really radical, but then there are the elder statesmen Democrats who are saying, hold on, guys, we got to bring everyone together. There's no effort at unity. It's scorched earth against Trump and all of his supporters. Think of that ESPN analyst Jameel Hill saying that there's no leeway. If you vote for Trump, you're a racist. There's no leeway, no gray area. And this is an idea that is held by many people in the media. I mean, you should see, I had 8 Trump retweets in a row this morning. 8 Trump retweets, and the stuff that's being said to me in my timeline on Twitter from libs, of course. I mean, my conservatives are like, oh, nice tweets, Buck. And it's really nice that the president shares my thoughts with his 80 million followers. And you can check his Twitter feed. It was like 8 in a row, I think, was the number. I haven't seen the president take one person's Twitter account and do 8 in a row in quite a while. So he likes the Bucksters Twitter game, which is appreciated. But it's a reminder whenever that happens, because then the blue check libs I'm always amazed too how many blue check libs are like, you're named after a porn star. Oh, you're named after a porn star. That's a really sick burn. Oh man, now I'm going to stop doing what I do for a living because you have made the dumbest joke that I've ever heard that's been made by every half-wit I've ever met. So yeah, good job, blue check libs. I love that one. It's good though. It's an intelligence test. People are like, has anyone ever told you you're a name like a porn star? That's brilliant. No one's ever told me that before. I don't know why. Look, my parents had a kind of an interesting sense of humor. So, speaking about Hillary, for a second, I want to bring to your attention what we could consider to be something of an update on the Hillary Clinton email case. I know you're not seeing it talked about that way, but I'm going to tell you about it. I think it's very important. Because at a time when we're thinking so much as a country about law and order and what that means and why it's important that we're all held to the same standards, here we see, it took some time, but we see just ironclad evidence of the double standard that exists for connected, politically important Democrats and leftists and everybody else. That there is a 2-tiered system of justice, one for people who the system, the establishment, the Democrat left likes, needs, wants to support, and then a system for everybody else. And I'm not saying this is the only 2-tier justice system. I want to be very clear about that. Yes, if you are very rich and connected, regardless of political party, you're likely to do much better in the justice system than somebody who's not. That's true. But when we're talking about politicization of the Justice Department at the highest level, it could not be more clear that Democrats are allowed to play by a different set of rules than the rest of us. That's where this is. That's the reality. And then that brings me to this story in ABC News. Raytheon employee sentenced for keeping classified documents at his home. Ahmed Sarah Geldin worked on a ballistic missile defense system. They say that he's a Raytheon engineer who endangered national security. He was sentenced to 1.5 years in prison on Wednesday. He worked on a radar defense system used to defend against ballistic missiles and had pleaded guilty to keeping classified national defense documents about that system at his home without authorization. Sarah Geldin apologized for his behavior. I was sloppy, but I've always been loyal to my job and to the country. He said this before his sentence was handed down. He took over 3,100 digital documents, according to the assistant U.S. attorney, adding that he took more than 100 physical documents. More than 500 of those documents were labeled classified and exposed to anyone who wanted to see them. Defendant deserves this serious sentence because he deliberately endangered national security, at the very least, by keeping national defense information where it was viewable. They asked for 5 years initially in the sentence, from 5 years in federal prison. He got 1.5 years. The defense attorneys asked for probation because of the following. He didn't transfer secret documents anywhere. He just brought them home. He did not sell them to anyone. He did not give them to anyone. He did not transfer them to anyone. He is not a traitor or a spy. That's very important. All right, that's all from the article. Why am I telling you about this? This guy had possession, okay, on an unsecured computer of classified information. That's it. That is the crime. That is the full, documents and digital documents, right? But he had classified information in his possession. That's what he is going to prison for. And people, they try to say a lot of stuff to try to, muddy up the waters. No. That's all. Did not commit espionage. Did not sell this stuff. There's no reason to believe anyone ever saw or got any of these documents or information. No intrusions detected, nothing. He just had it he kept it in the wrong place. Okay? Kept it in the wrong place. Who else did that? Anyone want to take a guess? Who else had over 100 instances of classified information, including special access program information, highly, highly classified, on a private, unsecured server? Oh, that's right. Hillary Clinton did, didn't she? We were told Hillary Clinton did not break the law by James Comey and by the Loretta Lynch Democrat Justice Department. How can anyone see what's happened here and not understand that was a lie? And I've said this all along. I've been consistent on this. Hillary Clinton broke the law. There's no debate over that. She had classified on her private server, some of it marked, a lot of it she would have known was classified. As the sitting Secretary of State, she had an even greater responsibility. This guy's a Raytheon contractor, the contractor for the government, low-level guy. She was the Secretary of State, and flagrantly and knowingly, that was the biggest lie of all was, let's just pretend like Hillary Clinton has an IQ of 15 and then she'll get away with this. That was what they did. Didn't know what C meant in the classification markings, in the portion markings of a document. No, that means that it's classified. That means confidential. Anybody who's ever worked with classified knows this. She lied. What, like with a cloth? What? You mean wipe it with a cloth? They lied to you about the law. The Obama Justice Department lied to you about the law. James Comey took the fall. Not that it was a fall. It was really actually just adding zeros to his book deal. He's writing another book. This guy's frightening. I mean, he's a real sociopath. But they made the whole thing go away. It was illegal. What she did was a crime. And now I was always honest with you. There are people, she should go to prison for 20 years for treason. No. That's not. She should have had to take, in a realistic world, she should have had to take a guilty plea, a misdemeanor, most likely, plead down. I know you don't want to hear that, but this is what would have happened. Probably a misdemeanor guilty plea for mishandling classified, get 6 months probation, and have her clearance pulled forever. Now, you might say, Buck, that's not that severe. I know. But do you think that the would-be president of the United States, the Democrat candidate, pleading guilty to a crime of mishandling classified information right before the election happens. Do you think that might have hurt her chances a little bit? Yeah. Convicted criminal Hillary Clinton, not for like a tax fraud thing either, right? Convicted criminal for mishandling classified, even if it was very minor. That would have been it. They knew that that there's no way she's gonna win the election if that happens, right? So what they do, they lied to you. This guy, look, what he did is stupid and he shouldn't have done it. I'm not defending it. I'm just pointing out the obvious double standard. He takes classified home. He goes to prison. Hillary is trafficking classified on an open server on a regular basis, over 100 counts. That is the fact of the case. Not even charges brought, not even an attempt to punish. Does anyone really think that they could win an argument with an intelligent person about whether there's a two-tiered justice system for Democrats who are important to the Democrat Party? Why do you think the left still lionizes James Comey, an abject fraud? And it's terrifying that guy was as senior as he was in the United States government. But the United States government at the top level in these bureaucracies has been full of losers for a long time. I'm just going to tell you that. A lot of losers. The appointees and also the careerists. Not impressive people. Way too in love with themselves. Think that they're so holier than thou and that they're doing all this amazing work all the time. And they get a little drunk with the power, for sure. Hillary got away with it, folks. It was a horrific injustice. So as we talk about law and order and law enforcement, let's not forget the Democrats will just pretend the laws don't exist when it suits them, whether it's rioters in Portland or their presidential nominee violating classified protocols.
America must be a sanctuary for law-abiding citizens, not criminal aliens. My vision for America's cities could not be more different from the lawlessness being pushed by the extreme radical left. While others want to defund, defame, and abolish the police, I want to support and honor our great police. While the radicals want to abolish charter schools and eliminate school choice, I want to expand school choice, and every family in America should have that option. While others want to destroy opportunity, shut down businesses, and send our jobs overseas, we are hiring Americans and we are buying American product. We want to build factories in Baltimore, not Beijing. We want to make our products in Chicago, not Shanghai. We want the American dream for American children, and I will fight to deliver that dream every ounce, every single ounce of my strength. I will be fighting.
Biden and Obama released a video focusing on Trump's response to COVID-19. Shouldn't be surprised by that at all, because they really don't want to get too into the law enforcement debate right now. It's not looking good for Democrats. They're on weak ground. They've embraced the lunatics. They've defended the lunatics. They've encouraged them. And now enough people are starting to see what the heck is going on in Portland. What was going on in Seattle with the autonomous zone? Why are there so many shootings and murders in Chicago all the time? Over 2,000 shootings. 2,000. I mean, this is, when I heard that number yesterday, I was like, that's just not possible. It is. 2,000 shootings. And about, between 6 and 7 shootings a day in Chicago on an annual basis. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable what we see happening there. And I think that finally the wake up is happening. And people are understanding what's really going on in a way that Democrats are they're not panicked, but they realize, this is a problem. This is a problem. I'm sorry, over 2,000 shootings so far this year. It's not, so it's much more actually on an annualized basis than what I'd said. 2,000 shootings. The Chicago Tribune says that Chicago has had 40,000 homicides in 63 years. That's unbelievable. Really, really violent city. But you know who's going to fix it? You know what they're telling you got to do? You've got to put this guy in charge. You've got to put Joe Biden in the role of president. He's going to fix everything for you. He's going to make it all better. Here's Joe Biden. Play 13.
And I had a nurse nurses at Walter Reed Hospital who would bend down and whisper in my ear. Wow. And go home and get me pillows. They would make sure they'd actually, probably nothing ever taught in, you can't do it in the COVID time, but they'd actually breathe in my nostrils to make me move, to get me moving.
This is who they want to be the president of the United States. He's too old for this. We all know this. He doesn't have it. Doesn't have it. And anybody who's telling you otherwise is just pretending that they don't see it when it couldn't be more clear. Here you go. Here's Joe Biden. Play 11.
Look what he's doing now. He's blaming everything on China. He's blaming everything on the Chinese. He's blaming everything, and people don't make a distinction. As you well know, from a South Korean and someone from Beijing, they make no distinction. It's Asia. And that's the way he's just using it as a wedge.
What? People, no distinction? People don't make a distinction between China and Asian America? What is... I listen to Biden and I have to think sometimes I'm not clear. I don't even know how to criticize it because it's not really clear what he thinks he's trying to say. That's who they want to make president of the United States. He's going to do such a better job. And remember, he was vice president under Obama and there were race riots. That was happening. Baltimore, St. Louis, neighborhoods burned down, terrible stuff going on. Terrible stuff happening. Well, what was that supposed to accomplish? What were they doing to deal with that? Let's have another Obama speech where we're all supposed to sit there and go, oh, Obama's so amazing. And he would say the most platitudinous stuff, we need to have, tough conversations sometimes, but we're not actually going to have that conversation. We also need law enforcement to do a better job to overcome the, historical oppression of the past or whatever, right? I mean, didn't do anything. Didn't fix anything, didn't help anybody, didn't do anything. A lot of talk on these issues. The Obama administration was bad for law and order. The BLM movement started under the Obama administration. And yet Biden somehow offers himself up as the answer to all this. It's just, my friend, sometimes it's too much to take. You sit around and you think, when will they just give up lying so brazenly? But I don't know when that's going to happen. It's never going to happen, actually. I can't believe we're being evicted from our home that we didn't sell. That's what Deborah said when she learned that she was the victim of home title theft, which is a crime that can actually cost you your home. You see, title fraud is not covered by insurance or identity theft services. The only folks I trust to protect you are at Home Title Lock. Your home's legal titles online where cyber thieves can find it and forge your signature stating you sold your home to them. You only find out about this, and in Deborah's case, that's exactly what happened, when the eviction notice arrives. Home Title Lock puts a virtual barrier around your home's title, and if any tampering is detected, they instantly mobilize to stop it. So go to HomeTitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're a victim and don't know it. Use code BUCK for 30 free days of protection. That's code BUCK at HomeTitleLock.com. Again, use code BUCK for 30 free days of protection at HomeTitleLock.com.
This is what you see in countries where you have dictators, in third world countries with dictators who have paramilitary that they can call out against the people anytime they want. As a matter of fact, it has been suggested that this is a trial run for the President of the United States, who may be organizing to not accept what happens when we have the election. If he's not elected, is he going to pull out? his military? Is he going to engage us? He is already alluded to there may be a civil war if he's not reelected.
Is there anything that is too egregious, conspiratorial, and outrageous for a Democrat member of Congress to say about this president? I think we all know the answer is no, but there's another great example of what you can get away with. If you're a Democrat, what you're allowed to say. The president may be organizing his military. We're talking about federal law enforcement, which is not military. You would hope that members of Congress would understand that distinction, but this is what we're being told, my friends. Being told that the president might not leave office, as if that's not poisoning the discourse even more in our politics. But the focus this week, you've seen, is going to be on the maximum panic that we can see from the COVID right now. They're trying to not talk about the law enforcement issue because Trump has finally figured out the right approach, deploying these federal law enforcement officers. So what are they doing? They're saying, well, let's talk about how terrible Trump is on the COVID response. And one thing that has been clear to me all along is we keep refusing to learn the lessons based on what's actually happened. And there are a lot of people who are very incentivized for a whole bunch of reasons to push policies, ideas, and responses that are not rooted in the science, that are not rooted in the facts and the data. You now have in Washington, D.C., you now have a mask mandate. A mask mandate, a $1,000 fine is what you face from this mask mandate. If outdoors, mind you, if you are outside, you could be fined $1,000, and you could even go to jail. It depends on how many offenses you've committed for not wearing a mask outdoors. We've been through this, and even the scientists that are, a bunch of big libs, even the public policy, Dr. Fauci, even Fauci. You ask, hey, Fauci, you got to wear a mask outside? And Fauci will be like, hey, let's not be stupid. You don't got to wear a mask outside. I mean, come on. Wear a mask all the rest. Wear a mask in the shower, in the bed, Wear a mask while you got you're doing the horizontal mambo. Got to wear a mask. But you got to make sure that you don't necessarily wear a mask outside all the time, because that's nuts. Right? The Fauci's made this much clear. Mask wearing outdoors, unnecessary. It is unnecessary. Okay. Now let's look at where we are. Now look, when I said he probably advises people to do it, but it's not rooted in data. This is what we're told now. Oh, maybe if it saves just one infection, right? It used to be with guns and gun control. The Democrats would always say, if it saves one life, there's no infringement upon your freedoms that is too much. If it saves just one life, if it stops just one infection, has become the new standard. That has become the new declaration from the public health authorities that are out there, and it's just disgusting. But you've got Democrats that realize this is their single most effective line of attack against Trump. This is what they've got. COVID is all his fault. He's done a terrible job. He doesn't care about it. And look, did the president say some things in the early days that in retrospect were probably unwise about this issue? Yes, of course. Of course. But everybody did. Everyone thought it wasn't going to be that bad, including Fauci, including Democrats, including de Blasio in New York and Cuomo. People who were saying, go out, shop, don't worry about it. Go out and shop a little bit. Go buy yourself more things. Your governor is here to take care of you. Make sure you're all safe and sound. What do I mean by safe and sound? When you're safe and sound, you don't have to worry at night because I've brought you some warm milk in a bottle. Why do you want warm milk in a bottle? Warm milk will often help you sleep because there's a biochemical thing that goes on. I can't really explain it, but it's very good for you. Cuomo was saying stupid stuff in the beginning. Cuomo was all about, don't worry about it, we're fine. The only person who is repeatedly and routinely lambasted for what he said in the first month of the pandemic is Trump. which is unfair. Everyone was trying to, everyone in the political sphere was trying to calm things down, didn't want to panic, didn't want to be seen as panicking. And we got hit much worse than we thought. Now, what people don't want to accept, and Rand Paul was on Fox this morning, and we don't have the audio for you, but I'll just tell you, Rand Paul has adopted exactly his belief. Now, this is a theory. I don't pretend that this is proven yet. But Rand Paul, who's an MD, okay, so he's a guy who does understand this stuff, has been a practicing MD for decades. He's saying, look, it's most likely, and based on what we've seen, that it's not that New York wears masks so well now and is doing such a good job because, hashtag science. It's that New York was hit so badly by the virus that there is a herd immunity within the population. And that makes sense. It's exactly what I've been telling you. 20 to 25% of New York by serology testing has antibodies. And there's a large port. We don't know what it is yet, but there's also, because I think it's much more difficult to test for this. They haven't been testing for this. We don't know what the T cell immunity is, which you'd put on top of that. Right? Imagine that let's say it's up to 40 or 50%. That means that the virus has half the ability to spread. So instead of the usual spread that it would have, and this is where you get the R0 or R1, one person infects how many other people? This is how the epidemiologists measure the spread of this. If you cut that number in half right off the bat, because there are half as many people that are susceptible to be infected, you're obviously dramatically contracting an outbreak wave of this. And there are other states where they did not have the same kind of wave that New York did. So they may be having that now. But if they are having that wave predominantly among younger, healthier people, that would explain why the mortality rate is so much lower. And that is actually a much more desirable outcome than what we had in New York. But no, what we're told is that New York got it right. Democrats know what they're doing. California is having the worst outbreak it's had yet in terms of cases, not in terms of I have to look at what the fatalities specifically are for California. But Rand Paul is saying what I was telling you about last week. It's very likely the case here that, one, we can't stop this virus. That was always a fiction. And that's why we've never tried this before. We are in uncharted territory with these kinds of lockdowns. Uncharted. Never been done like this before. Why? There have been terrible flu outbreaks. You go back in the past. I'm not even just talking about 1918. There have been other years. I think it was called the Hong Kong flu one year. There have been years where a lot of people were dying of flu. We've never tried this lockdown before. And we have tried masks before. They had cloth masks in 1918 during the Spanish influenza. Just to be clear. People were covering their mouths. Still a lot of people getting sick. So this is the moment in time where we're either going to see, and when I say this, I mean in the month of July, we're going to see if the cases start dropping dramatically, we're going to have this fight again. Oh, is it because of new restrictions, or is it because the virus has gone through its course? You think about the human body. You get infected. What do they tell you when you get a common cold? Well, you can either wait 7 days or treat it for a week, right? Wait for your body to fight it for 7 days, or you can treat it every day for a week with whatever it is you think. Basically, you're going to be sick for about a week with a cold. I'm not talking about COVID-19. But these systems, these viruses that occur, they have a natural progression. This virus seems to also have a progression that it goes through a population, and there are certain susceptible markers. We don't even know what we keep focusing on age, which we know is certainly one characteristic that causes problems, but we focus on age, and we focus on comorbidities like diabetes. There could be blood type, there could be T cell immunity. There are these other things that we may find out play a big role in whether or not whether an individual within a broader population is susceptible to this disease. But lockdown or no, this virus tends to have its way. It goes through a population and then it moves on. And we are in a huge argument for around the politics of this and the science of this. No one really knows. And that we're being told now that it's just because it's really a self-flagellation that we're going through as a society. We're being told, oh, if only we had listened more to the scientists and listened more to the experts, this wouldn't have happened to us. I don't believe that that's true. And I think there's a very strong case you could make that we did exactly what the experts told us to, didn't really matter. And now we're being told to do things by experts that won't matter again. And they're claiming that if we don't do it, whatever happens to us is our fault. And it's troubling to say the least. It's like we do not learn the right lessons. We learn the most politically convenient ones for one side. And blaming Trump for all this. Okay, now he's wearing a mask. Now we're going to go through this whole mask thing. California has been a masked up state for months, and it's gotten hit with a huge wave of this. I don't know. People that believe so much in science, you have virus in the air that you can't see, that's moving through, that's particles that you can't see, and viruses, you need an electron microscope to see one. And you have mesh on your mouth that has big, not to our eyes, but if you looked at a microscope, has big holes in it, and you're breathing in and breathing out. So yeah, do I think that it's useful for you if, so you don't spit out at somebody and maybe that has a lot more virus? That's possible. But if this is really about long continuous contact and the virus being in the air, you're breathing in and out virus with this mask on the same way you'd be breathing. I don't know. I don't know why that's such a, this is like a heretical concept now, but I'm just trying to think it through. And I've read peer-reviewed medical journal studies that say exactly that. But I don't want to get into the mask fight. I want to be very clear that locking people up or fining them $1,000 because they don't wear a mask is absurd. Is absurd. Outside, it's absurd. There's no basis for this. China back in the headlines. President Trump, his Department of State and Department of Justice taking action here. The consulate in China, in Houston, the Chinese consulate in Houston has been ordered to be closed. Now, why would that happen? You might ask, well, why is that something that's going to happen? Well, consulate may have been a hub of intelligence and espionage activity, specifically trying to steal intellectual property and trade secrets. And this is what the Chinese government has been doing to us for decades, and nobody until Trump was willing to do really much of anything about it. We just kept on sitting around saying, I guess we're going to keep getting ripped off by the Chinese. I guess we're going to keep getting, treated this way. What can you do? No, this is a huge problem, one that should be confronted. You have the closure of this consulate, the Chinese government saying that they may respond in kind and close a U.S. consulate somewhere. But it's like we've woken up from our somnambulance and are finally in a place where we're seeing the Chinese Communist Party for what it really is. Now we understand that they're not looking to make friends. They're not looking to play nice. They want to cheat. They want to steal. And they have been doing this systematically for basically as long as I've been alive. And now we're finally saying enough is enough. China is calling this, its foreign ministry is calling this an unprecedented escalation, and they say they're going to retaliate in kind. The U.S. Department of State has said that, quote, they closed this in order to protect American intellectual property and Americans' private information, did not immediately provide additional details of what prompted the closure. The Chinese media says the consulate has 72 hours to close. Protect intellectual property from theft, because what's going on is the Chinese are using their footholds in the United States to do everything they can to steal as much intellectual property from us as they can. And that is their move. That is the maneuver. So you also have reporting that I think it's in San Francisco, in the consulate there's someone that we think has been up to some bad stuff on behalf of China. And we're thinking they're hiding somebody in the consulate in San Francisco. I mean, this is old school. We're going to wake up at some point. It's the early stage now and realize that we're in a Cold War with China, folks. All right, this is the new Cold War. It's just being fought differently. It's much more cyber. It's much more happening on the web. But this is China's biggest campaign. And remember, they've got a much larger population than us. And there are some advantages that they have in the long game against us. So our intellectual property is, our technology and information advantage. That's our single most valuable economic and, in many ways, military asset, too. Right? If China has, faster planes and better aircraft carriers and submarines and, you name it, and we get into a conflict with them down the line, we're going to be in a really bad spot. They got a whole lot more people than us do. So, and I know we haven't really been thinking about any near-peer competitor in that way in a long time since the fall of the Soviet Union. We're going to have to start thinking about that again. China's not looking to be number two. They're not happy in the number two spot. China wants to be number one. They're challenging the United States. They're challenging our hegemony, and this is the execution of their plan that we're seeing, a long-standing plan that they've unfortunately been allowed to be very successful in up to this point. Rubio is claiming the consulate was a central node of Communist Party spies. Yeah, you don't say. Not a surprise at all. Democrats, of course, want to pretend this isn't a threat. They don't want to act like the Trump administration is doing the right thing because they've been completely asleep at the wheel. And if it's a choice between helping Trump or allowing the Chinese Communist Party to get away with this stuff, we all know they're going to allow the Chinese Communist Party to get away with this stuff. That's the Democrats' preference. Shows you where their priorities lie.